Hi everyone, it's Elena Wrights, and here is how I wrote a book. Notice I'm not saying how I published a book, because that hasn't happened yet. So don't come to me for ideas, because I don't have any myself and I need them, okay? Love y'all. Without further ado, here is how to write a book. One of the hardest parts is finding the right idea, because if you don't get the right idea, then you're not going to be interested in your story, and if you're not interested in your story, then you're not going to write it or write it well. You have to be invested in what you're writing, and you have to actually care about the topic that you're writing about. When I first started, I based my first book or writing experiment, whatever. It wasn't a book, it wasn't long enough, and it wasn't even good. I based it off of a really obscure Disney movie that's terrible. And my book was terrible too, but it was my first try, so we can forgive me for that, okay? But my biggest piece of advice is to take material and literature and movies and films that you are inspired by and rework the stories, rework the characters, add your own flair to it, and write about that. If you're inspired by something, write about it. Now, going back to my terrible first book, I read it, recognized it was bad, took the parts that I like out of it, and then I rewrote it using the parts that I liked and got rid of the rest. It was still bad after that, but I liked it a bit more and it felt more authentic to who I was. I was also really young at that point in my life, so I really didn't know who I was, but we can only have one problem. We have to pick a struggle, and that's okay. But you should take what you are inspired by and continue writing about that and in that genre. I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo for the first time, and I was like, oh, I need to write a heist book yesterday. So I wrote a heist book. That's actually how I got the manuscript that I have right now and that I want to publish, is because I read that book and I was like, oh, I want to write a book that's exactly like this. Not exactly like that, because plagiarism is not okay, guys. Good artists borrow, great artists steal, but no one plagiarizes, okay? Don't do that. We don't do that. No plagiarism. Take what inspires you about that book and use elements of it in your own writing. If there is a trope or a character model or a character arc that you really love, include that, but make it different and make it unique. We don't plagiarize here, okay? That's not okay. I did not tell you all to plagiarize. That's not what this section is. It's just saying that if you need inspiration, look to published works or published films and movies that have inspired you and that you resonate with, and take elements of that and then put it into your own writing. Does that make sense? Let's hope it does, because I talk a lot. Another really big piece of advice is when you get an idea to write it down. I have a really long note on my notes app of just story ideas and book ideas. Some of them are full fleshed out book concepts. Others are just little lines or things that I want to happen or world building details. As soon as you think of it, write it down. I'm the person that if I forget something, it's gone forever. And I forget within 5 seconds. So I need to write it down. And all of my best book ideas come to me really late at night. So I'll just wake up and I'll write something down on my phone and then I'll go back to sleep. Because the best book ideas occur naturally and organically in response from your environment and the books you read and all of that stuff. So if you can get all of those ideas down, that's the best thing you could do to have a really interesting story concept. And eventually, when you sit down to write or outline, you can look back at that note and see all of the stuff you've written down that you would find interesting to write about, and you can make a completely new book idea based on things that wouldn't go together otherwise. Okay, in this part of our theoretical journey of writing a book, we now have a book idea. It might not be the best book idea to have ever graced God's green earth, but it's your book idea, and that's really all that matters at this point, and it's very near and dear to your heart, so we're good, we're golden, we're set. We have now reached a crucial junction in our writing journey, to plan or not to plan. The two big writing factions in the writing community, the pantsers and the planners. They're gonna be butting heads about this and be like, no, you shouldn't write without a plan, blah, 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 and no, the best writing happens organically, and blah, blah, blah. I first started writing with absolutely no plan whatsoever, and I think that is the best way to start writing organically and writing naturally and get used to writing in large amounts. I do agree with that. However, if you are taking this writing seriously, you need to have some sort of plan and outline. And what I would suggest doing is write your outline without a plan. Just dive right into the outline. Break things down into like the plot diagram that you would get in like middle school English lit, and break it down into the exposition, the inciting incident, the rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. Break it into those sections. What's gonna happen, break every character arc down, what's gonna happen, but have no plan for that. Just start writing, start filling in the plan. Because once you get to actually writing your manuscript and writing your novel, it's really counterproductive if you have to keep going back to change things that you've already written. For example, when I first started writing my manuscript, I had no plan of where the plot was going beyond like the very, very bare bones. So I would come up with plot twists that I would need to go back and foreshadow, or just entire plot points that I wanted to change or get rid of. So I would have to go back and get rid of everything and change it and add new scenes and include things and things I've already written, and it just took so much more time than if I had just come up with that initially. I could have powered through that in way less time than I did. It's actually one thing that I regret, is not having like a more formal plan. So you don't need a plan to start writing your outline. Just sit down, write your outline. What comes, what happens, happens. It might be a great idea, it might not be a great idea, but get all of the big things ironed out before you sit down to write, because otherwise you're going to go back and forth and you're going to get nothing done, because you've just gone back between like 10 chapters because you keep adding things that you want to include but you didn't include initially. Okay, at this point, let's check our theoretical writing journey roadmaps. We have a book concept, we have an outline. Are we ready to write yet? Yes, we are. Congratulations! Okay, so the first word, the first line, the first chapter, first everything. There's a whole thing with like your first line has to be your hook, it has to grab your reader in, and I think that creates like a really toxic sort of like pedestal for the first line of the first chapter, that it has to be like this perfect, unachievable thing. It has to be the best line you've ever written in your entire life, otherwise no one's gonna read it. That's not actually true. Think about all of your favorite books. Is your favorite line the first line? No, it's not. Is the first line the thing that got you hooked into the book? Most likely no. Sure, there are books where their first lines are perfect and immaculate and you're like immediately, I have to finish this. Sure. Does your book have to be like that? No. And it's going to be different for everyone. There's no one opening line that's going to make every single person on the face of the earth want to read your book. That's just impossible. It's not going to happen. What you want is a well-rounded first chapter that will hook people into your book. Your first chapter should showcase what the deeper plot and conflict of your book is going to be. It doesn't necessarily need to introduce all of your characters or their character arcs or their backgrounds or stuff like that. I started a few of my projects with characters who are side characters and who aren't actually the main characters, but the experiences that those side characters have set up the deeper conflict of the book. You need to make sure that the conflict is rooted and interwoven inside the first chapter of your book. Your first line does not have to be the end-all be-all, but your first chapter does need to have an underlying conflict within it that will carry throughout the rest of the book, because that is how you get readers interested in your book. You have to show that there is something at stake for someone, and you have to make the reader care about those stakes. Otherwise, just like nothing's gonna happen. They'll pick it up, they'll read it, they'll be like, oh, nothing's interesting about this to me. This is one thing that I struggle with, and this is writing routinely. So one big thing about writing a book is that you have to write a lot, like a lot. A novel is like 50,000 words. I think it may even be 100,000, but it's a lot, like a lot. It's a lot of words. Even for someone who talks a lot, it's a lot of words. And the best way to get to that word count efficiently and quickly with a really great story is to write a lot and consistently. And that's something I struggle with, but I would suggest setting a time of day where you sit down and you write, and whatever happens, happens. If it's 15 minutes, great. If it's 20, fabulous. If it's 1 hour, perfect. Amazing, you're doing great. And even if you just sit in front of your computer, in front of your book, and you just like look at it, and then you look at it again, and you write 2 words, and you take out 10, like that's okay. What matters is you are exposing yourself to your book, and you are thinking about it, and you are actively making steps to write. Now, I know how writing works. If you try and force it, nothing will happen. That's how all art works. If you try and force your craft, you're not going to get anywhere good. If you sit down and just let it flow and just let your brain do whatever it wants, perfect. This is also the time where you'll see your characters slowly start to reveal themselves. Now, I know I said, have a plan, have an outline, blah, blah, blah. Your outline is going to be like trash about like 50% of the way through. Okay, I'll just be real with you. Your outline is going to look completely different, and that's okay. Sometimes the plot changes and the characters change, and that's okay. The point of the outline was to have a plan going into it so that you knew where you were going, okay? If you are like 50% of the way through the book, you know where you're going at this point, or at least you should, because of our outline. See? At this point, you can start letting it happen organically. Sure, I wouldn't suggest completely trashing your outline. However, you can start incorporating things that weren't originally in your outline, and that's perfectly fine. I've added plot twists, I've added character arcs, I've added side characters who have no meaning, but I just want them there because we love them. So just take it slowly, write day by day. If you can't write every day, that's fine. I know how life happens. It happens, we move on, we deal. But you need to be writing routinely and have a designated time where you can just stare at your words. That is the best way to have stuff happen, is to just stare at your words. Stare at your words, think about them, write. But Elena, my words are really bad. My writing's really bad. Welcome to the club, girly, with every single author who has ever written anything on the face of the earth in their entire lifetimes. Every first draft will be bad. Every single first draft. Even before it reaches first draft, it will still be bad. Don't worry. The whole point is that you have something. You can't edit from nothing. You have to push through the bad and let it happen, because in the bad, you might have 1 or 2 lines that are pretty good, and maybe in one bad book, you'll have 1 line that's great, or 1 character that you really love and resonate with. What matters is we get it on a piece of paper, on a Word doc, whatever you're using to write. What matters is we get those words on there. Get them out of your brain and on there. That's the only thing that matters. Let's consult our theoretical book writing journey roadmap. Let's see, we have a plan, we had a concept before the plan, and we're writing routinely. Do we have a book now? Not quite. We might have a first draft, and that's fabulous, and you should give yourself a pat on the back, a piece of celebratory chocolate cake, whatever floats your boat, because you did great. Most people who sit down to write a book never actually finish the book. So congratulations. If you have a first draft, you are doing great. If you don't have a first draft yet, you are also doing great. Let's say we have a first draft. It's a beautiful, trashy first draft that definitely needs a lot of help and maybe some therapy. Great. Fabulous. You're gonna stick it in a drawer and not look at it for like a month. I know it sounds wild, it sounds crazy, but this is the single best piece of editing advice I've ever been given in my entire life. Is you're gonna stick your book in some secret drawer and you're gonna forget about it. You're gonna forget about it for like a month. I think the minimum period is like 2 weeks, but I would suggest longer. Just like put it away, don't look at it. Go about your life. Pick up knitting. Learn how to sew. Learn how to play water polo for all I care. But it's like, don't look at it. And then after that month goes by and you are a new person with new talents, you know how to decorate a cake, open that drawer back up, take out your book, and you're gonna read it. And you're gonna look for any big plot holes and structural things. You're not gonna go line editing at this point. Don't do that. We can't take care of the tiny, minute grammar details or word details if we haven't fixed the big structural issues first. You're gonna read it. You're gonna read your book. I might say, Elena, why did we put it away for so long? It's so you can get unfamiliar with it. If you're like me, writing that first draft took you a long time, and that's okay because you got there eventually, but it took you a long time. And so now you are so familiar with the words that you can't tell what's good and you can't tell what's bad anymore. And that's okay, that's just how everything happens. So you're going to put it away, and you're going to get unused to it. So when you go back, you can see everything with as an objective of a light as you can get as the author. This is not the time for letting people read your work yet. First drafts, they're meant for you. You know what? They're meant for you because they're going to be bad. And you're the only person who can give yourself enough grace for that. Like, legitimately. Mine was terrible, and I was like, oh, are you sure you want to be a writer? And I'm like, you know what? Let's keep going. We have to keep going. Push through the bad. Look at all of the overarching structural issues. Is there a character arc that's not as well formed or that doesn't make sense? Is there a big gaping plot hole? Does the plot of the book not make sense at all? Are there big world building details that you miss? Stuff like that. Fix the big, then work down to the small. Okay, let's say we have fixed all of the big structural plot issues in the book, and we are now ready for the dreaded task of line editing. Great, I will send you a condolence card. I am so sorry. I'm so proud of you, but I am so sorry, okay? I'm so sorry. Start at the beginning. Take it chapter by chapter. Read it. Read it as objectively as possible. Read it and put yourself in the reader's shoes and think, if this was a book that I was reading and I was not the person who wrote it, would I actually stick around for this? Would I think it's cringy? Would I think it's weird? Would I think it's confusing? And go through and just read it. Sometimes it hurts and you look at yourself and you go, oh, I wrote that, ew. And then other times you look at yourself and you go, I wrote that, I'm a genius. It's a roller coaster writing. I'm so sorry, it is a roller coaster and you will be plagued by imposter syndrome. That's just how it is. At the end you get a pretty book. I don't know what to say. That's all I can say for that. So go through. Have a thesaurus on handy. Don't go overboard with that one though. That would be unfortunate. If you don't know what a word means, or if you can't say it, or you can't spell it, don't put it in your book, okay? The spelling one, I might give a little grace on because I can't spell to save my life. But, like, if you don't know what a word means without having to use a dictionary, or like you can't even guess, and you look at it and you think it's a bunch of letters, don't put it in your book. I'm tired of seeing words that are just like forever long and I look it up and it means that they were happy. Don't overuse the synonyms, but don't just keep saying he said, she said, they said. Don't keep doing that. Use your synonyms sparingly. have fun. Everyone's writing style is different, so some people are obviously going to have, a bit more flowery language. Some people are going to be very bare bones, straight to it, and that's okay. That's just your writing style. However, don't stray too far either way. Readers want some detail, but readers also don't want to know the exact shade of eye color that one random side character has. Keep those kind of descriptions for your main characters, please. Elena, you mentioned writing style. How do I find my writing style? Carly, I'm gonna hold your hand while I say this. You just have to write. Like a lot. The only reliable way to find your writing style is to keep writing. Keep writing, keep reading. Read books that inspire you, and if you see anything that you like in a book that pertains to an author's writing style, try writing something mimicking that author's writing style. My own personal writing style is like a hodgepodge mixture of other people's writing styles, and it's mine. I put my stamp on it and said, that one. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not copying any authors. I took inspiration from them. That's how you find your writing style, is you look at what has already been written and decide what you like about it. And then some things just happen organically. Like, you're just writing and you look, oh, that's a great way to put that. I love that. And everyone's brains are different, so we're going to have different writing styles, and your writing style is going to show up no matter what you're writing. Like, even if you're writing one of those, 5-paragraph literary analysis school essays, your writing style will still show up. Like, it'll be different, I hope. I hope you're not writing your book like a 5-paragraph literary essay, because that would... I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Don't do that. Don't do that. But anyway, your writing style is going to be apparent no matter what you're writing. So the only way to actually know what that is just to keep writing. That's the only way you're ever going to figure anything out. Okay, let's consult the roadmap again. We had a plot. We had a plan for the plot. We wrote the book. We wrote consistently. We put it away for a month. We didn't look at it. We learned a new hobby in that month. Delightful. We fixed all of our big plot structural things. Then we went back and did line editing. Do we have a book now? Technically, yes. Congratulations. Give yourself another piece of celebratory chocolate cake. Or whatever you do to celebrate. I don't know. But there's still a long way we can go. There's beta readers and editors and publishers and all that fun stuff. So fun. But I would not suggest leaving your book at only your edits. You are too close to your work to see it through a completely new lens. Yes, putting it away and not looking at it for a while will help. However, you can't ever completely remove yourself from your own work. That's just not possible. Life doesn't happen like that. If you wrote it, you're going to remember it at least on some subconscious level for forever. And that's okay. That's how it happens. Get someone you trust to read it. A friend, a parent, a crazy aunt or uncle. I don't know. I don't care. Give it to someone you trust who reads books in the genre that yours is in. I'm saying that again. Get someone who reads books in the genre yours is in. If you have a predominantly nonfiction reader and you want to give them a high fantasy book, they're gonna look at you like you're crazy. Probably because you are, but that's independent from them looking at you like you're crazy, okay? So give that book to someone who reads books in that genre. I would not give my fantasy heist book to someone who is a nonfiction reader. I would give it to one of my friends who likes those kind of books, because they will actually be able to give you good advice because they've read successful works in that genre. And they'll be able to give you advice on things that worked, things that they've liked, things they haven't. And that is the way you're going to get the best critiques. Now, if that person is not giving you constructive criticism, kick them out. We only take constructive criticism, okay? You wrote a book, and that's fabulous. So we do not tolerate people who are trying to knock you down, okay? Unless if you need to be knocked down a few pegs, because then just let them do it, okay? But you wrote a book, it's yours, it's a wonderful achievement. Congratulations, you did great. However, it still needs a lot of help, a lot of work, and you need a writer community to make that happen. A book is like raising a child, it takes a village, okay? So get friends who are writers, who are readers, and give your book to them and take their criticisms and suggestions and comments with a grain of salt. Not everything about your book that they suggest changing needs to be changed. However, some of it will be worth it. I will say that. Elena, are we done now? We've done editing. We've written the book. I think you're done. I mean, if you don't think you're done, you don't have to be done. Like, you could keep working on your book until you die. Go for it. I'm not gonna stop you. I can't. I don't even know you. It's okay. If you want to go pursue publishing at this point, go for it. You know, find an editor, find an agent, go land your publishing dreams. Have fun with that. I wish you all the best. If you want to keep your book, like, you know, locked away in some drawer, the same drawer you put it away when you were editing it, go for it. If you want to bring it out when you play Two Truths and a Lie and say, oh, I wrote a book, have fun with that, okay? It could be your little party trick. At this point, what you go for next just matters on what you wanted that book to be. If you were writing that book just because you wanted to, go for it. If you were writing that book because you wanted to publish it, go for it. At this point, you have successfully written a book. Congratulations. You deserve a really big piece of chocolate cake now. Maybe the whole cake. Not all at once though, but like, you know, it's a big thing. And it all depends on what you want to do with it next. So I can't give you any more advice. I'm just gonna say, you pick, boo. It's your turn to make the choices. Yay. But you wrote a book. Congratulations. If you have reached this point in our theoretical book journey roadmap, you now have a book. You have a book that has been thoughtfully planned out, has been edited by yourself and maybe another person, and it is a book that I would no longer be ashamed of if someone else read it. So, congratulations, you have now written a book. And that's about all the advice I have on writing a book, because I haven't actually published it yet because I'm just a girl. So, I guess that's the end of this video. So, if there are any like specific parts that you want me to get into, like world building and how I do that, or like more specifics about the editing process, like let me know. I'll make different videos about that. But this is all I have on how to write a book. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and have a great day. You should go write.